Hello.
Star Trek Prodigy Recap Season 1 Episode 13 All the World's a Stage. Posted by Avery Kaplan, November 10, 2022. Recaps and reviews, science fiction, Star Trek, TV and streaming. 0. The protostar visits a society built in the Enterprise's image in Star Trek. Prodigy's latest episode, All the World's a Stage. The 13th episode of Prodigy Season 1 was written by Aaron J. Walthka and directed by Andrew L. Schmidt. Related. Star Trek Prodigy Recap Season 1 Episode 12, Let Sleeping Borg Lie. In the dauntless sick bay, Vice Admiral Janeway, Kate Mulgrew, asks the diviner, John Noble, what he knows about the protostar. The diviner asserts that they stole his daughter. Commander Tissus, David Diggs, arrives, accompanied by Dr. Noom, Jason Alexander. Photos. Nickelodeon, Paramount Plus. Copyright 2022 Viacom International. All rights reserved. Tissus says kidnapping doesn't sound like Commander Chakotay, Robert Beltran. The diviner is shown a picture of Chakotay and he positively identifies him. He says he was taken prisoner, but his mind is in pieces, so he can't remember what happened to them. Then he begins ranting about his mission. Noun tranquilizes him and says he needs rest. Ensign Essentia, Jamila Jamil, arrives and says an escape pod from CR-721, launched by Barnus Frex, has been located. He was rescued by an unidentified vessel. The Dauntless is tracking the ship's warp signature. Janeway says this isn't a rescue mission any longer, but rather a manhunt. Distress signal. Captain's log, stardate 61296.9. Captain Dal RL, Brett Gray, explains that his crew's shared dream of joining Starfleet has died. This is due to the living construct weapon concealed in a secret subdeck aboard the protostar. Related. Bonnie Gordon speaks the protostar's truth on Star Trek Prodigy. In the previous episode, the crew learned there was no way to remove the weapon and no way to disarm it. As such, they can't join Starfleet. Any Federation-associated vessel will destroy itself, just like County Route 721 did in Asylum. Nevertheless, Dal, Gwyn, Ella Purnell, Zero, Angus Imrie, and the rest of the crew are still wearing their uniforms and comm badges. Jankum Pog, Jason Mantzukas, is unused to a problem he can't solve. He continues attempting everything he can think of on the weapon, to no avail. In spite of the fact that they can't so much as contact Starfleet, they're using the protostar to do good. On the bridge, Hologram Janeway reports that she doesn't know why the distress signal was sent. A subspace distortion field is interfering with their equipment. However, she detects life signs. Gwyn says they should beam down and see if they can help. Poor Murph. Meanwhile, Rok-Tok, really Alazraki, cares for a sick Murph, D. Bradley Baker. She implores him to eat something. Hologram Janeway assures Rock that he probably just needs rest. Gwyn tells her to remain with Murph, and they'll call for her if they need her. Rock tries to fake a cough to get out of the away mission, but Dal is unconvinced and drags him along. The Enterpriseans. An away team consisting of Jankum, Dal, Gwyn and Zero successfully beam down to the planet. Dal comments on the duration of the beam-in. Zero surmises it's the interference. While they can barely get a reading, they use their tricorder to locate two biosignatures. They follow the signal to a pair of aliens wearing stitched-together facsimiles of Starfleet uniforms. They fire a phaser-like weapon at Jankum. He falls to the ground, twitching and in pain but conscious. Jamesett and Sulu. The aliens are James's T. Baker, and Sulu, Eric Bauza. They mistake the away team for a Starflight landing party. Dal asks why he's looking at Starfleet if they're supposed to stay away from them. Hologram Janeway says it's impossible. While Captains James T. Kirk and Hikaru Sulu are Starfleet legends, no Federation ship has been near the sector in a century. Plus, no record of first contact with the planet is found. Gwyn asks about the distress signal and Jamesett says she must mean the message of Nasan. Sulu says they must inform Starflight Command. Then he makes a mangled Vulcan salute and says, "Live logs, and proper." New Enterprise. The away team follows the pair to New Enterprise, a ground-based structure meant to emulate the Enterprise. The citizens of the structure, which contains a whole city, marvel at the away team. Gwyn says it's like they're playing make-believe, but Zero senses no deception from them. New Enterprise. They are greeted by Dr. Boons, Fred Taasori, who asks if they located the cadet. Jamesett says they must play the logs, and calls everyone to the bridge. Familiar sound effects play as the Enterprisians sit down in front of a theater stage. A curtain adorned with an approximation of the Starfleet Delta opens, revealing a reproduction of the Enterprise bridge. Jamesett begins performing, which elicits call and answer responses from an enraptured audience. Jhngm munches on snacks as he watches. The play tells of James's tea, the lead actor's namesake, and Sprock, most illogical. They arrived above the Enterprisians' planet generations ago. Scotty announces that the people below need their help, but they can't intervene. They need a hero. That's when Nassan of Starflight Enterprise steps forward, communicator held aloft. The crimson-shirted Nassan brought Starflight's message of peace to the people. But he also warned that he had been followed by a monster, the gallows. The curse of the gallows claimed some foolhardy locals. A sickness arrived in the village, which the people believed to be the consequence of disturbing the gallows. Nassan spent his final months teaching them what he could. While he eventually died, he promised Starflight would come one day and rid them of the evil. After waiting for generations, their saviors have finally arrived, the Protostar away team. The curse. Dal is heading back to the ship. Gwyn asks him what he's doing, and says they need their help. But Dal says some Starfleet guy made first contact with them too evil, and now they're living a lie. Just like the Protostar crew. But that's when Uhura enters New Enterprise, clutching her abdomen and gasping, the gallows. She collapses into Dal's arms. Zero confirms this is not part of the play. In the Enterprisian sick bay, Uhura says she saw the gallows. It has two glowing eyes and breathes fires. Curse? Jamesett says she's plagued by the curse of their land. Dal says curses aren't real. However, his hand shows the mark of the curse. Zero's scans are being obstructed by the distortion field. They say they need to go to the source, the gallows. Related. Star Trek. 8 Trek pets. Roars erupt from an ominous cave. Meanwhile, on the Protostar, Rock continues to worry over Murph. She promises him it won't hurt as she takes a sample. An incoming transmission from Gwyn for hologram Janeway and Rock says that the away team needs Rock to bring down EV suits and medical supplies ASAP. Rock says she's on her way and tells Janeway to take good care of Murph. Legends of Starflight. Soon Rock, Gwyn, and Jhngm are suited up and head toward the gallows. Back in sickbay, Uhura tells Dr. Boons that she went to the cave because she believes in Starflight, and Insun told them to bravely explore. To help the helpless. Dr. Boons tells her she made Starflight proud. Meanwhile, Dal grows stressed about his situation and beings to freak out. Why did we think we could help, he moans. But he calms when Dr. Boons places a wood leech on his neck. Boons explains that when the sickness began they determined their secretions decreased the immune response. Boone says he knows how Dahl must perceive them. He acknowledges their woefully incomplete knowledge and inferior equipment. Boone says Nassan told their ancestors about the Prime Directive, and how the Enterpetzians weren't ready for their ideas. We know we aren't Starflight, acknowledges Boone's. But you don't need a real ship to believe in what it stands for. Related. Star Trek. Prodigy. We don't get to see the future. He asks Dahl if he believes in what it stands for. The gallows. Gwyn, Rock, and Jankum observe dead trees as they get closer to the gallows. Soon, they experience seismic activity. They approach the glowing cave. Inside are plentiful dilithium crystals. Jankum says he is afraid. Gwyn says she's learned never to fear the truth. Did someone say something about dilithium crystals? Green clouds erupt and cause more seismic activity. The trio comes face to face with the pair of glowing red eyes that belong to the gallows. But it's not gallows, it's the Enterprise's shuttlecraft Galileo. The ship's warp engine is leaking plasma on the dilithium and causing a chain reaction. The cause of the sickness. Gwyn attempts to contact Zero. Communication is a non-starter. Rock determines that this is the source of the comm interference, as well. Jankum says he's studied his share of 23rd century Starfleet ships. He asserts that he can fix the ship. Gwyn extols caution, but Jankum says he can't call himself an engineer if they come across one more thing he can't fix. If this thing goes sideways, promise me a royal Tellarite funeral, says Jankum as he climbs into the Galileo. In the sick bay, Boone tells Zero they're losing Dahl and Hjora. Fortunately, Jankum successfully activates the shuttlecraft's comm unit and uses it to contact Zero and explain the situation. This information is sufficient for Zero to synthesize an antidote. This revives Dahl and Hjora. Dahl orders hologram Janeway to beam them out. But the distortion means she can't get a lock on them. Furthermore, getting that close to the source will knock out the autopilot and Janeway, so she can't rescue them herself. But how can Dahl do it when he's down 3 crew members? He looks at the revived Hjora and says, maybe not. Warp me. Dahl and Zero beam onto the bridge of the protostar along with Hjora, Jamesett, and Sulu. Hologram Janeway is skeptical. They want to be Starfleet, but can they command a starship? Dahl says she just has to believe. The Enterpriseans on the bridge of the protostar. The Enterpetzians are befuddled by the protostar controls. Dahl asks if hologram Janeway has anything more old school. Janeway orders the computer to load Constitution-class holo console, mid-23rd century. A holographic version of the Enterprise bridge appears. It is instantly familiar to the Enterpriseans, who take their stations promptly. In the cave, things are falling apart. Gwyn and Rock join Jankum in the Galileo. They inadvertently activate the final message recorded for Starfleet by Ensign Guravik, "Ta sorry again," of Star Trek. Lower Decks. Hope's a funny thing, isn't it? I tried to do my duty. Salvaged what I could from the wreck. Went to save the before I felt. But then, they welcomed me. Healed me. Gave me hope when I had none. In the end, they were the ones that saved me. Related. Remembering Nichelle Nichols, Uhura's most memorable Star Trek performances. In the meantime, the protostar navigates its way into the collapsing cave. Before the Galileo can fall into the molten plasma, dilithium combo, the Enterpriseans beam Gwyn, Rock, and Pog aboard. The ship flies out of the cave and lands outside New Enterprise. I joined Starfleet because I loved beaming. They are greeted as heroes by the New Enterpriseans, including the trio of locals. Captain's log, supplemental. Dal says people can surprise you sometimes. He says they found a new chapter of Starfleet today. While they may have gotten a few things wrong, they got a few things right. The protostar crew models the correct way to execute the Vulcan salute for the Enterpriseans. Janeway says the rules on second contact are a bit fuzzy. It's up to the Enterpriseans on how they want to evolve. Jankum leads the Enterpriseans in sealing off the poisonous cave using combined phaser fire. Zero gives Boons a suitcase full of medical equipment. Dal says that if the Enterpriseans can accomplish so much without even a ship, maybe they can too. A new Enterprisean play incorporates a cutout of Jankum. Dal says that if they need to, they'll find a way to reach Starfleet without the protostar. Later, Rock returns to find Murph missing. She follows a trail of slime and finds him in a cocoon near the ceiling. Related. Read all of our recaps of Star Trek, Prodigy. New episodes of Star Trek, Prodigy are available for streaming Thursdays on Paramount+. Author. Recent posts. Avery Kaplan is the author of several books and the features editor at ComicsBeat. She was honored to serve as a judge for the 2021 Cartoonist Studio Prize Award and the 2021 Prism Awards. She lives in the mountains of Southern California with her partner and a pile of cats, and her favorite place to visit is the cemetery. You can also find her writing on Comics Bookcase, Neotext, Shelf Dust, The Mary Sue, StarTrek.com, in many issues of Panel X Panel, and in the margins of the books in her personal library. Related. Outrageous Star Trek. Prodigy clip released during Star Trek Day. September 8, 2022. In Science Fiction. Star Trek Spring 2022 premiere dates and pickup orders. January 18, 2022. In Star Trek. Star Trek. Prodigy Recap. Season 1 Episode 19, Supernova, Part 1. December 22, 2022. In Recaps and reviews.
No. Bye.